Okay, so hi, welcome to this video. Hopefully a range of people are present. This is in relation to the Dylan Rounds community drama and the ongoing external drama which Bob Farrell, Twin Mama, are facing at the ends and hands of the likes of Jim Terry, the communities, the implosions, the overall mess. Basically, just about everything I predicted. But this isn't an analysis about them exactly, but more about myself. You could call it a psychological analysis of warlike wrath, explaining how one was able to avoid most of the trouble and why ever since one hasn't been stuck in that mess, in that hole as others have been. Because whether Bob Farrell, Twin Mama are seen as good or bad individuals at the eyes of general public out there, they may feel somewhat trapped or stuck. They want to move forwards, but they still need to address and set the record straight regarding certain things. But then at the hands of people could level and label as the devil, the dark one, Jim Terry, well, he still has cards up his sleeves and is still tugging at the ropes to get some kind of reaction. Why has it not come my way? Why have I not been trapped in a hole? Why have I not dug myself into a hole? Why have I not been hurt or harmed the same way as other people have over time? Hopefully, by the end of this video, my explanation will make it just a little bit clearer, and maybe it could help other people out there. I do want to highlight and stress that some people could put the argument across and say this self-psychological analysis of yourself could be deemed biased. You're talking about yourself. Maybe you're more likely to mention more strengths and positives than weaknesses, and then therefore it's not balanced. I can understand that, but I don't see anybody else doing a psychological analysis or just a general analysis of warlike wrath. So in comes me, stepping on in, and I'll try and keep it balanced. And if it's not balanced enough, people watching are welcome enough to mention the weaknesses of warlike wrath, the failures of warlike wrath, and even maybe the grievances as well towards warlike wrath. That can all be noted down below in the comment section, so then I can read it in the future. If you don't have anything negative to say, that's okay, but you can still leave comments in general, related or not, there's no harm. And for those that are currently here in this live premiere, be sure to share your thoughts, opinions and reactions. And you can also talk about other stuff as well in between. And for those watching on catch up, and just anyone in general, to be honest, you need to catch up on my previous videos, more serious, more important, strange findings within mystery cases. You click on the eye symbol, top right corner of the screen, you will be redirected to those videos when you need to catch up. And down below in the comment section, if you want to check it out, if you want to support the channel, there are some additional links in the pinned comment, which are available to visit. All in all, of course, shout out to Cleo for her almost one-man army type support, with all her support recently, and gifted memberships. A couple of other people have been receiving memberships once again, and including Betty Hayward. I'm not sure if Betty is aware of that, and maybe a few others. Okay. Christy, I think, received membership recently. That was by Cleo. So that's good of Cleo, appreciated, and kind of glad that it was sorted, because I know in the past Cleo was trying to figure out how to gift membership, but that was resolved in the end. I know there might be some other people over time that aren't able to receive a gifted membership, but I think in order to receive one, you got to go into your own channel settings and try and find it where you can accept gifted memberships. If you can't quite find it, you go on Google, type it in there, you should be able to find it, okay? If not, maybe you'll try and follow it up at a different point in time, okay? So whilst this video in general is talking about me and how I've done this and done that, digging deep into here, a big deep analysis. What you're crazy gets turned on by analysis. It's embedded in her brain. Data analysis in real life, data analysis at night time as well, when sleeping. When Watch Your Crazy's eyes shut, all she sees is the matrix, all those glowing numbers flicking about. Who knows what it's like? I wouldn't, for sure. But jokes aside, I do have the odd response within this video, and you would have seen by the title of this video. One is to tie in with an example of an individual, Kathy and Axel, preferably Kathy, the ginger-haired female, her recent behaviour, but also tying it in from my point of view and what I've been on the receiving end of in the past, because it's a critical point to make. You want some form of change and you need to eliminate darkness. Well, this should be a key learning point if people are watching today. But then also there is a response to It's Just Robby. If that doesn't translate very well, let me just clear my throat. Basically, we're talking about It's Just Robby. Yeah, want to put on a Valley Girl voice, want to pull out that laptop, only a 16-inch screen. I'm sorry to disappoint you. I know my quiff is not on point today, neither is my understanding of situations. See, the thing is, certain voices may not sound as good on camera, but that's because when I really get involved into it, I have to change my face and facial expressions when I do the different voices of people, okay? And because I've got to do that, it looks weird, right? Some are worse than others, right? So it's like the cowboy one. I've got to slant my mouth at an angle. Now, if I did that on camera, someone would probably call paramedics thinking I was having a stroke, but I'm not. It's the only way I can do the voice. So that's just for context there, but we'll respond back to It's Just Robby. Maybe it was an inaccurate claim, but it was in relation to, in general, within the Dylan Rounds case and community, and I strongly disagree with it. So I will be responding back to It's Just Robby, or should I say, It's Just Robby. So we'll get to that, and also points about Kathy and Axel. So we do have examples once again, kind of like the last video I did where it was including Matt Lingo and Dale. I can use Matt Lingo and Dale as an example today. Don't worry, not in the doghouse, it's fine, but that will be later, so make sure to stick around for that. Apologies if I do cough, still there. I felt more coughing today than yesterday, so it's not as easy to make a video when talking, and I just thought, you know, I'll do this one because it's a bit more of a casual one, not like a full-on serious narration. But we'll get round to that very shortly, and I'm awaiting a response email from Jeff Claw regarding a certain topic which needs to be talked about regarding the Kenny Veach M-Cave case mystery. So once that comes about, then I should be able to do a video about it, and maybe even a map analysis, which I've not done for some time. So be on the lookout for that. So where do we begin? Well, simply with the beginning, the origins of WarLike Wrath, with the recent, the past, the ongoing, the future drama and conflict originating from the Dylan Rounds case community. It's branched out ever since, and because it has moved away with time, it's involved me less, right? You could argue and say I've put myself in situations more me than when it's out of my control. Okay, when I've responded, when I've defended myself, or when I've done an analysis on somebody or somebody's points because it's in relation to the Dylan Rounds case. There are certain factors, qualifying ones, which will enable me to make the next move and how I go about and what I cover, okay? So if I have been involved in stuff, it's because of the Dylan Rounds case, or it's been in defense of my channel also, okay? I don't just suddenly jump into deep waters with absolutely zero context nor reasoning to be there, right? maybe other people do that, and that could be one of the first mistakes when it comes to trying to avoid the damage and avoid the trouble. Now, if you do remember, just as a heads up, I did a previous video where I was talking about how to avoid or how to reduce drama if you're a viewer, audience member, or if you're a content creator. But that was like a general one, right? And ever since, I've done different topics. Now it's time to gather, collect it all into one place and actually reflect it back onto myself so you know what it's about. So you can argue this is a case study and this is a psychological analysis part 2, because I did part 1 about 2 years ago or so when it came to the Kenny Veach case, and I was explaining why I was able to do what I did with the case and for that length of time still to this day. So if you're interested in that and the case, be sure to check back. But this topic, overall case study on me, is how WarLike Wrath was able to reduce the damage and reduce the exposure to all the conflict in which many other people have been involved in and have been worse off than me, right? And take in mind, with me being a content creator, I'm putting myself out there more because I'm making videos, the public, I'm talking, I'm showing my face, I'm showing my voice, I'm showing the environment around me. So there is more room for critique, there is more room for possible insults, and the more I talk, the more of a target I become, whether it be I mention something incorrect or an unpopular opinion, compared to a viewer that may only interact so much. Sometimes it's been, in this case with this community or overall stuff on YouTube, the viewer has been worse off than someone like me. And that could be considered quite surprising because I'm putting myself out there more than those are, and yet those are getting attacked more. So interesting dynamics, right? It's not how you would normally expect it. And I am speaking specifically on YouTube about this. It might differ from platform to platform, okay? So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing today. What I do want to do just very briefly, okay, it's a little bit off subject, but I'm actually really annoyed by this chair I'm sat in. It's just a temporary one, if you're wondering. It makes like a weird click sound when I'm like leaning back aside, so I've just got to whip the chair because it does annoy me, okay? Stupid chair, okay? Can't even see it on screen. Wow. It's a loose screw. Sorry, Dale, did you take the screw out? Oh God, Dale, you need to fix it. You know, what you see here is wood, okay? Watch her crazy. What you see here is wood. This is pure wood. You know, you're going to be waking up. You're going to be walking through a forest. You're going to be walking into wood. Betty Haywood wouldn't be, because her field is very vast and open. No obstacles there. But watch her crazy. Can the same be said to you? I don't think so. Let's just give it a quick beating. Stupid chair. Fix yourself, you worthless peasant. Okay? Even Org has better furniture and it's more reliable in his Orgy cave. So there we go. I think one last thing to do, and that's not the reveal. Oops, keep that censored. Sinaloa talking about the red blanket never left me, stuck to my shoulders. Why? Is it glued on? Maybe. So I think what needs to be done first of all is a round of applause, okay, for numerous reasons. If you are joining suddenly, don't worry, it's all under control. But a round of applause because what I've been able to do is break the record. I've been able to break the record for the most consecutive amount of times of coughing in a singular video than Jim Terry could ever do. Yeah! WarLike Wrath is a winner! I'm a winner! That's what it's all about! Winning! See, I've got to alter my voice because with the cough. I don't know, I've not done certain voices for quite some time, so just trying to get into the flow of it. But, you know, everybody, okay? You know, the Super Chat train, the Polar Express, whatever it may be, just chuck it out, clap your hands, empty those pockets full of those buttons. Okay, I don't know why you're stealing all the buttons. Poor Inky Unplugged hasn't got anything to use for her knitting. That's a great shame. But everybody, round of applause for the fact that WarLike Wrath has broken the record when it comes to coughing back to back. I've coughed more times than a coffin. I've coughed more times than Jim Terry. I've coughed more times than Watch Her Crazy being gagged with a rag full of petrol. God, that's what it's all about, man. There's even neighbours outside right now and they're stood right there looking at me. Yeah, come on, look at me, man. Do something. Oh, he's holding a big pole. What are you doing, that massive pole? Put it back. How inappropriate. Just the washing line, that's all. But I've definitely coughed more times than Jim Terry, so that's a winner. And then the final thing would be, in terms of predicting stuff, it just happens because it's under control. That's basically it. So, with that being said, I guess it's now time to focus. And hopefully I don't get too warm. If my face goes too red, it's not because I'm getting excited, it's because I'm right next to the radiator. Keep notes, I'm not that red yet, but it could change later, right? So welcome to everybody that has joined and those joining late. If you want to rewind, feel free to do so. You know, you join now, rewind just to understand the context of this video before you go any further, okay? So, the origins of where I began, and how it all unfolded on the journey, how I was able to focus on the case, but also acknowledge the community, how I was able to pick up on what was wrong, what was the problem, how to fix it, how to eliminate it, what to work with, and spot the stuff. All of that going to be revealed today. Okay, the introspection side of WarLike Wrath on the spot, but also a retrospective analysis. Okay, so Dylan Rounds. We're not talking about the Kenny Veach community, the Kenny Veach drama. That's individual, that's separate, right? The Dylan Rounds community and drama has been much more extensive, much more damaging towards different people out there, and even those parties that are not even involved within the case or not even involved within these chats and live premieres. Not from, you know, my area, but from the other communities out there on YouTube. But we all know what communities in general we're talking about, right? So, Dylan Round's case, I get involved. I'm 1 month late. Other people have joined the party early, and I'm sure Jim Terry was, with him being on the case early on as the private investigator. I guess no thanks joining on in the early days. Zavgirl 2, Tyler Feller. I guess Ty Corbin was a bit later on, kind of around the time of when I got involved and when Salty Pancakes did, okay? Because I remember Salty Pancakes' presence just after, not long after I got involved too. So that's taken mine. June, probably it would have been July of 2022, I guess, when getting involved in the case. Salty Pancakes 2, and taking those visits out there to Montello in the very early days. And fast forward on, then going to the Grainshed property, right? That was kind of the order. And there'll be people on my channel, my page, that have probably been around on the Dylan Rounds case arguably longer than me for an extra month, right? So some of you will know more about the case and the community, how it was back then, okay? Apologies if the camera's a bit wonky. It's a bit of an optical illusion. Hopefully it's not that bad. Okay. So at least when I got involved early on, there was no problems at all. I was thinking, ooh, I don't want to mess anything up. With moving on to a new case for the very first time, I don't want to make too many mistakes. I want to be able to think for myself and do it in my own way, right? Because if I do it like how everyone else does it, I just don't do as well. I need to slow it down. And whilst I might have been bordering onto going away from the case instead of sticking to the original story, it turned out that the original story or ideas were ever switching and changing. So it really meant F all, because the accuracies weren't there early on. And it took quite some time for it to be established, and some of it may be set in stone as a formal understanding. That did not occur early on. So it was a bit more malleable, the discussions and the outlook. But I think maybe most people early on did stick with the story and do it in a one-dimensional way. I was kind of doing my own thing in a different order. So when I did catch up to certain topics and discussions, it might have been 4 to 6 months later. But that's because I was doing other stuff in a different order, which other people weren't doing. So with that came maybe a few disagreements from some individuals questioning me. Why am I doing that when this is happening? Why am I slow to this when it's already been talked about? That's all it was. The typical criticism which I'm used to coming across. Nothing dangerous, nothing that problematic, right? And as for the community as a whole, it was reasonable. I wasn't introduced to the community, nor did I know anyone in the early stages. I'm aware of people now, but before the Dylan Rounds case, I never knew, nor never heard of the likes of No Thanks or Tyler Feller or Zavgirl. I never knew they existed. I've never heard their channels before, even Mob Crew Chris. When it came to Jim Terry, I didn't even know who he was. When I heard Mr. X, well, I was thinking Mr. X from the video game Resident Evil. So whilst Mr. X portrays himself as having flavour, having taste, having high qualities, standards, and being original, well, he's a knockoff copycat of Mr. X from Resident Evil, the video game, who just so happens to wear a mask, to dress in black, like an overcoat or so, a cape, and wearing a hat too. So that says a lot. Not exactly original there. Kind of fell flat. As for Jim Terry, I honestly thought it was a car salesman. You know, like a dodgy car salesman with a shouty voice, advertising cars. And do a quick example right now. So when people were talking about Jim Terry in the early days, and maybe I heard the odd sound from the person's voice, I did think it was a car salesman, like, "Oh, yo, look, coming up right now, I got some cars to sell you right now, great price, they'll give you a free membership as well, I even give a free car away because we're running out of time. Let me tell you something, watch out crazy, you got no clue what I'm talking about. I have had enough of you. You really are an annoying individual. You got a whiny voice. You said I have. You got it wrong. Where's Mickey Mouse gone? Too late. I had them. That's why I talk like this. Got a frog in my throat. Daily, gotta fish it out right now. Wow, I've not done that voice for a long time. It's like a workout. It really does raise the blood pressure. It really does raise the blood pressure when you do the voice of Jim Terry TV. Betty Hayward, where are you at? I've been waiting for you for a long time. Long time. Don't even wait for Belvy. She's already here. She never left. Just like Rainbow Melon. Never left. She likes Mountain Out quite later. Never left. Wrong. You gotta listen and understand what we're on about. You gotta stick to the flow. So, it's kind of like that. Gets the heart going as well. It's like cardio. But anyway, if we dial it back, just like Leanne does on the bottle. No, I was only joking there. Leanne is like a machine, emptying those bottles like the landfill does. Completely dry. Just like WarLike Wrath's super chats. Real dry, unlike Mr. X, where money keeps rolling on in, and there's a lot of ways of water to keep me hydrated. You may wonder how I hydrate myself. Perfectly under control. Actually have a hole elsewhere where it fills up, like when you fill up a car. But Betty Hayward, I've been waiting for you and you not been showing up. I'm really disappointed. I thought, Betty Hayward, you were going to show up at Mattel to create some kind of character of yourself.
You got many in stock by me. They were actually gone out of stock because I'm the hottest free agent, unlike you. Watch your crazy. Wish you nothing but the best of luck, but I hope your printer has a heart attack. I hope your printer ends up going to hospital because it's been a bad individual, unlike me. Anyway,
That was the early days, okay? At a time where I didn't even know how to do people's voices, nor was there a real reason to do so because the focus was all about the Dylan Rounds case, right? That's what it was mainly about. And maybe in the community, the aspect was it was about the Dylan Rounds case, but with time it became less about Dylan and more about them and one another. And that's where the problems started coming on in. In between that, what was ongoing was the presence of salty pancakes in the early days contributed to the Dylan Rounds case, a different point of view, interesting material, but then with time, one's credibility, or at least how they portrayed themselves, started going downhill a little bit. And when it got real bad and there was major conflict and channels were terminated, so was Salty Pancakes content, in which research on the Dylan Rounds case, most of it or some of it was lost. It's a shame, right? That's the long story short. But I said, I noticed problems with Salty Pancakes from the very beginning, just because I looked at his comments, public comments section in a video of mine. He got triggered by it, maybe in highlighting copyright as well. But it's not material, it's not the video itself. I wasn't using that at the time until I asked and they approved. That was the key thing. So because of that defensiveness early on and having Pancakes rely on his little group of goblins to come at me, I thought, oh, here we go. Not really been exposed to this before, but it seems like it's a 4-on-1 battle. Well, that's typical. Ironed out with time, but you fast forward on into the future where there was ever a run-in with Salty Pancakes and even some others. It wasn't just the creator showing up, it was the audience members in the name of that creator to defend him and also insult me. So it was foreshadowing what would happen in the future. Did I take much note of it? Not really in terms of it happening again in the future. I just thought, well, this might just be kind of like a one-off here and there, okay? You know, introduce yourself in some way, doesn't quite go to plan, misunderstanding, figured out, sorted, shouldn't happen again. But it did, okay? So early on, I did already have predictions in mind, such as I'd be the last person standing covering the Dylan Rounds case. I knew that in my mind, and that's what basically happened. A sense that there would be levels of resistance, and more so what happened in the Kenny Beach community, that would happen here, and it did. Impersonation accounts, methods like that. Could it be by the same people that followed on over? No, I don't think so. Some could have followed on over, but, you know, impersonation accounts and slanderous behaviour, as well as throwing out false claims, stuff like that isn't new. It happens all the time. So I guess it's inevitable. You're on the wrong side, unpopular opinion, say the wrong thing, and there'll be someone out there to respond back, direct or indirect, cowardly way. And that's what basically happened. I'm on the receiving end of it, and so was many others, and still to this day, and I guess Bob Farrell being the recent one. And some other people, but I can't remember everybody that has been impersonated. I mean, I would say leave a comment in the chat right now if you have been impersonated or not. Have you been lucky? Probably best not to say, because if you say you haven't been impersonated, then someone will probably impersonate you in the future. So don't make that mistake, right? Now, is it through my public predictions that led to the real actions taking place, whether people got ideas from it or not and influenced by my predictions? I don't know, because I can't be in control of everybody else. I can't babysit everybody else. I just wanted to outline it to the general public at the time early on, you know, more so for the people coming on over from the Kenny Veach case to the Dylan Rounds one, that, hey, this could be a bumpy ride, things could go wrong, but We've been through stuff like this before, so it should be handled with, and it should be okay. And I would say in the end it was okay. It's just that it was a bit more in depth and longer in time, because I guess with grudges in the Kenny Veach case, it was for some months maybe, but with the Dylan Rounds case lasting over a year, right? And as well, doing Dylan Rounds more frequent would have led to more exposure and putting oneself out there for possible things going wrong. The only reason why the Kenny Veach case was a bit worse or a bit annoying in one way is, yes, others were impacted, but because I was kind of the main one in the case, or one of the more active ones, really I was the main target for certain stuff at least. Some here and there in the background, like Qatari, had it worse off in other areas, maybe more so in real life, but as for the digital side and for a period, I was the main target, and because not as many were in the same boat as me, it was more me against everyone, or me against the darkness. Whereas in the Dylan Rounds case and community, because so many people have been impacted or affected in some way and dragged in, more and more people can relate to one another, and not always, but more people here can stand up for one another or try and defend one another than elsewhere. Because what happened in the Kenny Veach case impersonation accounts, there wasn't as much awareness there than there was in the Dylan Rounds case, where you had the likes of Matt Lingo and a few others highlighting in other live streams, other chats, saying that account that's shown up in a negative way is not WarLike Wrath, it's a fake account, it's an impersonation one, setting a record there. Now, I can't go off and do all that because I'm doing my own videos, right? But for the people that did step on in to spread the awareness, that was good of them, and it did help iron it out, okay? So it's not just all down to me avoiding or reducing drama, it's because of the help from viewers on this channel or third-party people that have come on in and then gone elsewhere to set the record straight. So that'll obviously help. When you're dealing with a bit more of a global or national problem, more people are involved, required, maybe needed to fight back against it. If you're dealing with a local small nuisance, small problem, maybe it's only needed for one individual to sort it out. In the Kenny Veach case, it was a bit wider scale, but not as much action was done, which I guess was unfortunate. But I guess when it came to the whole reporting, right, certain accounts breaking TOS, maybe more success was there than it was maybe in the Dylan Rounds case, or maybe the report timing of getting a resolve was quicker in the Kenny Veach case than it was in the Dylan Rounds one. Because besides me, even the likes of Bob Farrell and some others saying that they're going to report this person and that account for ban evading and much more, whether it be Jim Terry, whether it be Salty Pancakes. Does it come to a resolve immediately? No. And when it's come to the odd individual in the background that may have been responsible for some channels being shut down within the right reasons, it wasn't just a simple task. It required time and a lot of focus and gathering intel and receipts and proof, and just having to constantly reach out to YouTube, Team YouTube over and over again, and eventually something happened, right? Not always, but at times maybe where it mattered, it did. It just wasn't quick enough. So that's not exactly hopeful when it comes to YouTube. YouTube's all about promoting a safe space or a nice community. Okay, YouTube are basically do-gooders that really force feed and promote LGBT, Black Lives Matter, and all that do-gooder stuff. But as for everything else, animal abuse, we'll turn a blind eye for that. Certain people dressing, acting inappropriately of a certain gender, we'll turn a blind eye to that. It doesn't matter against YouTube TOS, who cares? But if a male did it, oh, no. Right? Saying the odd swear word, extremely punished, right? Restricted, self-certification score down the drains. Yeah, we're going to punish you extremely bad. But someone ban evading or someone flashing images up on screen, oh, that doesn't really matter. So you can see where YouTube's priorities lie. It is a load of shit, right? The YouTube guidelines are shit, okay? They're YouTube's automated system for reviewing things or detecting stuff even when it's not there is useless, okay? That's from my experience as well. So yeah, it's not good, okay? What's it like elsewhere? I don't know, okay? YouTube has more tools and features than other platforms do, but not exactly utilised correctly, and that's unfortunate. And with the Dylan Rounds case and the community wasn't always quite there, was it, with YouTube? But YouTube didn't silence the Dylan Rounds case the same way they did with the Kenny Veach case. Keywords, comments, censored, deleted. So Confluence, Watch Your Crazy, or any other people that have had comments removed, hidden for whatever reason, it remains a mystery to me as well. But from what I can see with the Kenny Veach case, many people were impacted there and still are to this day. Jeff Clark recently leaving multiple comments but being silenced. YouTube taking it out because I guess the case is too close to something, to the truth. Maybe it applies to the Dylan Rounds case in a smaller way. It's unfortunate. As I said, I know this is going a bit off track, away from me myself, but these points need to be highlighted, right? So referring back to the Salty Pancake situation early on, I saw him for what he possibly was, kind of irrational and being too defensive, territorial defensiveness, keyword as we've used recently. So because of that, had to go about things a certain way when it came to pancakes. And there was probably more negative run-ins with other people towards pancakes than there was with me. Down the line could have been a bit different, but for a period of time it was okay, right? So when you do engage or approach certain individuals and you might not get on well with them, or first impressions aren't great, the best thing you can do is just to try and keep the heat level low. If they are a bit problematic, argumentative, or impetuous, but they do provide some contribution or important material on the case, you've got to try and work alongside them for the case, for Dylan, even if you don't quite like the individual or get on well with them, okay? Short term, long term, that's what I'm saying. Maybe other people couldn't do that or chose not to. But because I did and tried ironing it out with time, it led to being able for my analysis, my points and observations, and my eagle eye vision to assess and review the footage of pancakes, the screenshots there, which was somewhat helpful in the case, and opened up new discussions, topics, talking points, which then branched out to other channels and communities out there. So it highlighted how one person's material can help contribute and complement another person's perspective and analysis of it, and vice versa. So it went well. And yes, down the line when it did go downhill, that was later. So all the important stuff and material was documented, reviewed, and looked at and covered on the channel, and credit was given, of course. And then it went downhill, but at least it happened at a later point and not early on, okay? That was between other groups and communities out there, okay? So when it came to the pancake situation, you could say there was a middle man, okay? What about Jim Terry? Was there a middleman there? Kind of, but there was more limitations. This moves on to like a point linking from pancakes and within the case and community, and a general theme. If there is a middleman, make sure to fully utilize them for the right reasons. It can help bridge the gap. If bridges have been burnt down, if there's a breakdown in communication, there's trouble, there's arguments for a misunderstanding or a disagreement, it is best, let me just adjust the seat, it is best to try and locate a person in the middle of it all, in neutrality, sitting on the fence, or just a key individual that is in contact with the person you're having trouble with. If you can't directly reach out to that individual that's got a problem with you because they've either blocked you, they just are completely blanking you, well, if there's someone nearby that gets on well with the individual, reach out to them. Bridge the gap by passing on messengers. The messenger then can pass on the message to the receiver, okay? And then maybe there could be a better understanding. How I may explain a situation, the other person may not be willing to listen or agree with it at all. But if it's said in the words or voice of somebody that they like, there's a small chance that they may show a bit of an understanding. There might be a bit more leniency there. So in general, but more specifically in a case, community, YouTube streets, try and find those middlemen. Who would be an example here? You don't want to name certain people because it could compromise certain humans out there, right? And I'm sure other people will have their contacts who they don't reveal. But the likes of the Shack Lady, because it's kind of a general theme, and it was introduced on their YouTube channel in the past, the Shack Lady was kind of a middle man. Now, I know the Shack Lady isn't a man, but it's just a saying in case people don't quite understand English language and stuff, okay? So, Shack Lady, on the fence, neutrality between Salty Pancakes, Jim Terry, early days of the Dylan Rounds case, eventually forced to pick a side, or more so some maybe unnatural behaviour in the background to get them on side, like a dog collar, okay? But at the times of where there wasn't as much biasness, there wasn't as much forced control or psychological manipulation, the Shack Lady, if I had trouble with Salty Pancakes or a certain individual, and the Shack Lady was in contact with them, I could just simply say to the Shack Lady in a message, comment on YouTube, I'm aware this seems to be going on. I'm aware that's a problem. I'm aware that there's labeling and claims being said. Are you aware of it? Are you able to maybe try and reach out or something to set the record straight? These are just rough examples on the spot, but you'd think how it would go, and some messages were able to be passed on. And even if it wasn't about resolving conflict or resolving a misunderstanding, just being able to make use of the people present that may then be in direct contact with maybe the family of the Dylan Rounds case, informing them that things may be going on, that there may be problems and trouble and stuff brewing. Are you aware that there is a fake account? Are you aware that it could impact this case? Are you able to pass it on to the family so they are aware? Right? You know, small examples like that. Many different ways and examples how a middleman can be used to eliminate a problem or to simply make people wary of what to expect before it does come about. Early planning, prepping, whatever you want to call it. I guess another example of a middleman, but not literally a man, would be Leanne, okay? People refer to Leanne as Leatherface. Where's her chainsaw? Run out of fuel again? Well, you'll have to get some big tips from Watcher Crazy on the highway. What's that? No longer on the highway? No nip tip money? I'll have to go for the dip pics instead on the corner street of the pizzeria place where Kaylee is currently at. Domino's? No, but I thought their last name was called Kaylee Domino's at one point. I misread it. But it can happen at times. Is Betty Hayward still dressed as a pizza advertising? Maybe. But as for the alleyways, cobwebs are forming, business not going too well, as Tasha is coughing and it's reverberating down the back alley and it's scaring customers off. But as for Watcher Crazy, seems to have it under control. But as for Leanne, her patchwork and leather work could do with some improvement, but I'm sure that can come in with time. But being serious, Leanne was able to act as a middleman on behalf of Bob Farrell in recent time when reaching out to Justin Rounds on Facebook, because on Facebook there was a fake Bob Farrell account impersonating Bob and painting a bad negative picture of him by harassing Justin Rounds family members and other friends of Dylan rounds, and it was successful and people fell and believed it. So that had implications on Bob, and still does, and Leanne attempted to contact Justin and set the record straight. Was it a success? I don't know. I've not seen any updates, but you get that idea. Trustworthy individual can go on a mission to prove the innocence of somebody that's portrayed in a negative light, in which, as for first impressions from the victim, let's call it, that victim ain't going to be too forgiving too soon of the bad guy, but someone that can bridge that gap to enable more clarity, that can be useful. So all about utilizing that, not using people as a middleman for your own gain, but just making the most of what's present, resources, people, and you can even do it in return, right? They help you, you help them in some way. It's happened. And then that's how you can build from there. You call it a form of networking or not. It's not a form of pledging allegiance to anybody, but it's just about doing a simple task or helping in a basic way, which can go a long way in effectiveness, right? So by me, if there was people present at times in the Dylan Rounds case community and the drama aspect, if I was able to reach out to somebody on behalf of somebody else, or to maybe get a point passed on, it happened. So it led to a better understanding, and it led to other drama calming down and other people backing off and stopping, right? Because sometimes those middlemen can have a big presence on the problem out there. But that problem out there, that person does respect the middleman because they get on well. Power dynamics, gotta acknowledge that too. The power dynamics play can shift extensively when you do bridge that gap with a messenger. The messenger can be very useful. Of course, messengers have been used for the wrong reasons as well, when people have been watching and listening into background stuff and other sharers and then passing messages on back to their slaves, their masters. But they're not exactly middlemen in that sense in terms of resolving a problem. They're more for stirring and creating a problem, right? There's two different types there. And I'm talking about the positive ones, people that have helped with time. And it has led to drama being reduced or just simply eliminated from going any further. As for others that may have not utilised that, that's where they've dug themselves in a hole or found themselves unable to get out of one, right? Not utilising what's around you. You need to try and be alert and aware of it. It doesn't matter. In real life, physical or online digital, there might be something at hand you can grab onto. And I'm not talking in a dodgy way there, okay? Watch your crazy or similar. I'm not talking dodgy. I'm, you should, people understand, okay? So, because of that, and a few examples out there, that was one of the reasons, okay? So that's a personal action by me, which did help situations and also avoid problems escalating. Many other people have had issues escalate, and that's why it's still ongoing now. Now, the next point, understanding problematic people, right? We've seen a range of them with time. I've sensed it, I've picked up on it early, so it's led to those people either stepping away or maybe revealing themselves at a point. There would have been a few people that, fit through the gap and slid away. Not exactly identified or noticed immediately, okay? I guess an example would be Indiana 59, where appeared as a positive person and then turned kind of toxic and passive aggressive. Drastic change, but I guess in between, at times I may have sensed or felt something was kind of off. It's like a week or two before a person reveals their true self, I see an early sign of it. I get that feeling within that I'm like, you know what? I'm starting to sense more disagreements now. I'm starting to sense a bit more of a tone and maybe a bit more of an attitude and a bit more of an edge to somebody. Of course, people can agree and disagree, that's not an issue, but when you start seeing something ramping up, intensifying or bubbling away, that's when you know something's up, something's wrong with that person, whether they have a problem with themselves or a problem with you or somebody else. You see it early, maybe you can fix it before it gets worse, right? Was I all about that? Not really, because I was juggling with the case, but I was actively aware that people with time were changing in behaviour, and I was very experienced in that field. So my experience in that field is when I covered the Kenny Veach case, I saw the changes in behaviour of people. I documented it so people could see it and witness it themselves, right? It was public most of the time, but it still needs to be archived in case people deleted their comments or their behaviour. It needs to be documented so people know who is who, what they're about, who, how, when, what, where, right? Not exactly in that order. You know who is who, where they come from, then for future references, you can kind of know what to expect. When you're starting off, you don't know what to expect. You don't know who's around you. You don't know what people are capable of. And within the Dylan Rounds community, not everybody knew that this person had a criminal record, that this person had a mugshot, that that person may have had a ginger cat, that that other individual used 5 toothbrushes per day, right? You're not going to know until it happens or you find out. And sometimes when it's too late and when you do find out, that's when the fire burns you, okay? Just like my legs right now. My legs are up against the radiator and I'm burning inside and out. Just observing, splash me with your holy water from your jug. Oh, you got a couple of jugs? Come on, just observing. Come on, just observing. I'm standing up, applauding you. Get the jugs. Get the jugs and cool this room down. Sinaloa. Hola, Sinaloa, taco. ¿Dónde está? Sinaloa, can you please release the jugs? You know, hydration is necessary in order to live, but also maintaining one's body heat and temperature is also important for one's health, okay? Because you can tell it's getting a bit more red by the second. So try and step back a little bit from the flames. Should be able to cool down, okay? But I'm being serious, I'm next to a radiator, so it's a bit hot. If you wonder what the clicking or the ticking is in the background, you know, that's just because of the radiator. I can't quite pull the prop out on time with that delivery of a line. That's unfortunate. I don't know where the stick of dynamite's gone. Mr. X steal it. Oh, shame. What a shame. I mean, arguably speaking, I probably had a stick of dynamite before other people did as a prop. Just like many other props, you know. All of a sudden, throughout all these years, these props suddenly now play a role or can be applicable in situations. It's kind of funny. But anyway, returning back to the problematic people situation, right? You start getting that gut feeling or something within, trust it and prepare yourself. And with my experience of seeing it in the past, I knew what to expect this time round. I wouldn't be too shocked by it. Was I surprised by the nature of being on one side of the field and then switching and changing and being two-faced? It was just more disappointing to see, because within the Kenny Veach case, it wasn't a matter of people supporting me and then supporting somebody else who was backstabbing me and causing me trouble. It wasn't that. People just changed in behaviour in the Kenny Veach case. They got scared, they got spooked, they deleted their content, deleted their comments, went very spiritual or went very political, right? Completely different, but the case impacted them. Did the Dylan Rounds case impact people here? No, it was more so the communities. But then their perceptions of the Dylan Rounds case was then negatively impacted by the influence of others, right? So maybe not as negative, but like when you had Tom Evans with the pink profile picture. Tom Evans was a regular here and was mainly positive and supportive and defended me and didn't cause any trouble, any problems. But the moment when Tom Evans started hanging out on Bob Farrell's channel, sometimes Tom Evans believed in what Bob said or what Bob was passing on. Tom Evans was too trusting. So when BS came about and there was misinformation, Tom Evans felt bad for passing it on and realised, oh, it was a load of rubbish. But, you know, that could be down to vulnerabilities of people being too trusting in someone and it backfires. That's what I tried not to demonstrate myself, so I wasn't led on the same way because of my experience from the past of coming across BS misinformation. I didn't let it consume me like I consumed others. And I guess Tom Evans was an example of someone consumed by it. But also the behaviour, the attitude, the tone of voice did change with Tom Evans with time when hanging around Bob Farrell for a bit too long. So when Tom Evans returned back to my channel, he was calling me an idiot. He was saying a few criticisms about me. It's not the scale of what exactly was said, but by the person. It wasn't expected for that person to reply that way because they didn't originally. They were mainly positive. So why the sudden resistance? Why the sudden pushback, right? And calling out. And when I was wary or cautious of some information because of the previous patterns being BS and BS and BS, and yet Tom said, "You're an idiot, man. You know, what are you doing?" It's like, what's going on? Call him plank, prat, whatever. I don't know if any swear words were used, but it was just a whole attitude, personality change just because one person stuck around somebody else a bit too long. Well, moved on over there and it changed them as a person, right? So I'm definitely focused about that, right? You can be in a community, you can branch away, you can move on, you can watch whatever you like, but just be aware and just be cautious on yourself that you may go elsewhere, you may not return back as the same person you once were. And I think that's happened to a lot of people with time, and that's why behavioural changes have occurred. I do still genuinely find it absolutely ridiculous if and when some people have left my channel because they didn't like the drama, so they moved to a channel which is constantly involved in drama and getting attacked. You know what? That's almost as stupid as saying, oh, you know what? I don't like conflict. I don't like war. I don't like all the damage and trouble that's going on. I come from the UK. It raises my anxiety levels. So for all of that, I'm going to move to somewhere in between Russia and Ukraine. So then I'll be less drama-free, less conflict, less trouble, less damage. Really great reasoning ability there. It's almost as stupid as being a size 12. 12 inches? No, man. Get a grip of yourself. Size 12 feet. Size 12 shoes. Okay, you're a size 12 and you say, you know what, today I feel like wearing a size 5 croc. Okay? Have you lost your mind? Was it even there to begin with? Okay? Now, okay, when it comes to Dale, he can morph into different objects and sizes, okay? If he wants to fit himself through a little letterbox, he can. If he wants to fit himself through a drain, he can. If he needs to fit himself through Laura's back passage, back alleyway, that's also possible as well. Could be a bit messy, but with the right workwear and gear, you should be fine, okay? But wherever that was going, okay, returning back to the key, okay, understanding problematic people, because at the end of the day, drama and conflict is caused by humans and it can be resolved by humans, but it can also be avoided to begin with. The more you understand people, the quicker you can detect and alert danger and trouble present if you can follow the correct steps in pushing them away, cleansing the area of them, or just speaking to them in a specific way, not to trigger almost like a minefield of mind games, you should be fine. But first glance, first time dealing with it in a new community, you're not going to know as soon. You can be cautious and wary, but you just don't know exactly when or who. But when it does happen, and you start seeing the patterns unfold of who it is, how they are being problematic, when are they being problematic, and where are they problematic, and where do they originally come from. Once you tick each box and understand, right, okay, who is it? This individual, do they match a certain description? Can they be generalized to another group of people that have done the same thing? Yes or no? If so, well, there's a pattern established. Be more cautious and wary of a certain type of people. This has been realistic and straight to the point, okay, whether people agree or not. How are they being problematic? Is it through such a way where it can be resolved? Is it through the use of words, language, misunderstandings? Are they being problematic because they don't understand you or because they don't want to listen to the truth? Well, if that's the case, maybe word it to them in a slightly different way. Maybe talk backwards. Maybe talk in a different language. Talk in a deeper, dodgy tone. Yeah. Or whisper. Maybe they want ASMR instead. Maybe they want you to be a shouty man and speak really loud. Whatever the way, there's an option. If it's a no-hope situation in which, if it is down to language, if it is down to misunderstandings, if it's down to sheer stubbornness, delusionalism, being too positive but not quite realistic, or being already brainwashed, you could say it's a lost cause situation where you would generalize that those type of people that fit that description of being a lost cause, it's not worth trying to resolve it. It's not your job to do so. You're not a counselor, you're a content creator, right? So there's times where you can try and resolve a problem or through a certain action, but when it is a lost cause, don't put all your time and effort into that because you will burn yourself out and you neglect the important thing. The case, Dylan Rounds as example. And with other people, they have burnt themselves out and they are in a cycle. They have detracted from or deferred from the Dylan Rounds case, and it's very telling in communities, right? I haven't, because I've been able to go in and out, shake it all about, and managed. Is that because I resolved the problems through misunderstandings? At times, yes. I clearly highlighted it was a language barrier, and then people finally understood, yes, it was a language barrier. English language, advanced vocabulary, certain specific connectives of words and sentences which they couldn't comprehend at the time, but eventually understood it when it was more simplified. And same with titles, thumbnails, like Ty Corbin apologising after falsely calling videos out of being clickbait, Buster Brasmus doing the same thing but not apologising, unfortunate, and many more problematic individuals where there was a bit of a resolve most of the time there. So we said the how. What about the when? When does the problems unfold in people? When do they show their problematic side? It could be at a time when you mention, an unpopular opinion of a case, an opinion, a theory, a concept which others don't like, and then that gets their backs up against the wall and they argue back. And I guess Kathy and Axel has done that. Kind of like when it came to the Idaho 4 case, with Brian Koberger, and Watch Her Crazy was giving her thoughts saying, I think it is Koberger responsible. Kathy and Axel jumped on in erratically with their tone and unsteady voice, shouting as well, saying, no, you're wrong, he's innocent, you're wrong, he is innocent, Koberger is. So there was no formal agreeing or disagreeing. It was, you listen to me, I'm right, you're wrong. And Watch Her Crazy was like, fine, I'm going to jump down from this panel and see you later. And that's what happened. So Kathy and Axel, a bit overbearing and hard-headed with their thoughts and my way or the highway mentality. Not a good look, not exactly great. And there's more negatives to add to the list shortly. The other point is, besides when does it happen, okay, through disagreements, through misunderstandings, or at a point where there's a misunderstanding or an unpopular thought, where? Is it on your own channel or is it behind your own back? If it's behind your own back, it could be more of a problem than it actually, well, it could be first presumed as. If it's face-to-face, not as bad, but when it's behind your back, there's the level and element of sly, sneaky, backstabbing behaviour. What else are they capable of? They could be deemed as more dangerous individuals or more problematic, right? So if you're dealing with it head-on, face forwards, not as problematic. But with the added factors and additional issues at hand of when you are dealing with these people, but maybe in a third-party way, being informed by a stranger of somebody that has been talking about your name elsewhere, that adds to the problems and the list of issues, doesn't it? So it'll come with a different approach. What would be the approach? Could report somebody if they've broken TOS within the right reasons. You could just simply block somebody, and blocking can be effective, but doing it too much can cause more problems. You cut a worm into half, then 2 worms form, right? So it kind of multiplies, causes a reaction. They get what they want, so they spread and intensify it. Some people who aren't as petty or in a certain way, you can block them and they just simply think, fine, I won't come back. But then other people, you block, oh, there comes another fake account, there comes another default profile, let's block them. Oh, there comes another one, there comes another one. So certain type of people, it's just not worth blocking because it'll only continue and continue, okay? For those where it doesn't continue, yeah, why not block, right? Sometimes I don't block, which you'd think is detrimental to the whole case of avoiding drama or reducing it. But no, sometimes it needs to be publicly aired so other people can see it as evidence and witness it and even report it to YouTube. So it does have its purposes. So outright blocking anything and everything isn't always a good thing. Blocking some of it when it's really unnecessary, yeah. But then the serious stuff, don't block, leave it up, leave it as evidence so YouTube can see it themselves and greater action can be taken. When it comes to other channels and other platforms and having mods who are power hungry and block anything in sight immediately, there's no way of getting a hold of that evidence or being able to, see it and look back at it, review it, get screenshots, because it's gone within a second blink of an eye, right? So you can't stop the problem because you haven't got any material to prove it with YouTube to then get maybe a channel shut down or a person terminated within the right reasons, right? So some stuff needs to remain, some of it doesn't. Balancing act, okay? Doing it in such a way where it doesn't consume you, nor does it overtake you, but if you can lighten the load just a little bit, then you can focus and deal on the greater, more important problems at hand with the right people and the right resources present, and it can tie back to the middleman. Somebody can act on behalf of the creator to then reach out to YouTube or a certain platform, a group, an official, someone higher up. You have your experiences, you have your material, you pass it on to the middleman, and then they pass it on to YouTube. It can work, it can be effective, and credit to Confluence. Shout out to Confluence, a good example of a person. I'll just highlight that. So yeah, we've looked at the who, the how, the when, and the where. And depending on which way it goes, you can develop a pattern and a trend, and also how to deal with it. And then once that's in place, when it happens again in the future, you kind of know what to expect. That's why I've been able to make more patterns and predictions with time, and the accuracy has remained. I mean, it already was to begin with. Fuck me, it was pretty good. But it was a bit more consistent with time and a bit more frequent as well. So whilst I said, oh, this is going to happen, that's going to go wrong, that person's going to change, that person in your community, whilst it may seem good now, may not be the same case later on, right? And that's what happened. You think you've all gathered together as one, you think it's a nice happy campfire, there's already cracks forming, and it's already fragmented, and you've been at each other's throats in the past, and the only reason why you're together now is because of a greater cause, which could be Jim Terry. Doesn't resolve the past, those grudges are still there. It might be buried for now, but it's not resolved, and it will come to light eventually, and it will cause problems, and it has caused problems, and things have been somewhat resolved or supposedly resolved, and then more problems have formed, right? A never-ending cycle. If you have problematic people present in your community and they remain there and they continue their actions, there will always be a problem. Whether they make the problem about them or somebody else, or they stir it, right? You can have it where you might have a community, everybody is all nice, happy and friendly, and then suddenly everybody hates one another. How did it get that bad? Because someone was planted in the middle, almost like a secret agent, almost like some kind of pathological disease which has then infected everybody else with lies and deception, so then everybody's at each other's throats through misunderstandings. Lies have been fed, Chinese whispers have occurred. That's what's happened elsewhere. It hasn't here. But I have seen people, some two-faced, where 1 minute positive, next minute the negative toxic side on here, and then elsewhere a bit more laughing and positive, but then still negative to me in the background. But then sometimes positive here, but just on a different topic and subject, but still on the same channel. It's almost like shape-shifting in personality and behaviour. I don't like the idea of that. I don't like that lack of stability. You don't know when they'll show up in their good days or their bad days. And it's not based on influenced on their own life in real life, but more so their outlook and perspective of someone online. And if they've got an agenda with somebody, you know, it's going to be a problem, right? People like that need to be dealt with in some way or another, okay? And just like with, if you move on to other cases and communities and they follow, that could cause more problems. So whereas you're dealing with problems at hand, it's best to sort it before you move on elsewhere. If you do move on elsewhere and certain fish follow, try and form a bit of distance from them in a way. Block, hide, mute, whatever it may be, in different ways. Because you don't want radiation spreading elsewhere, because it'll only impact more people and more cases down the line. It's already happened with 1 or 2 cases. Do we need it with any more? No, we don't. So that's like the problematic people situation explained there, right? You detect it early, you prevent more problems, and you reduce it from escalating any further. But many people in other communities have fallen for the deceit, have been too trustworthy in somebody, and then they found out that they were supporting another channel or the darkness, and then it led to a full-on war, even if it was short term. Didn't quite happen here, and maybe with less people it wasn't as bad as it is elsewhere. So that's another factor. Maybe it is in numbers, right? More people present, more people watching. Well, there's more people to deal with and to try and sift through them. Can be a bit harder, but still manageable here and fine. Was there another key point there? Oh yeah, that's a bit later on with the cleansing. We'll get into the cleansing as well. But the example of Kathy and Axel, right? Said false stuff about me, about doxing their cat and inappropriately touching their cat. And it's all stemmed back to when WarLike Wrath just read a comment out by Kathy and Axel, a public one from Bob Farrell's channel page, talking about their cat, talking about when daddy's coming home and getting the food out and eating. Kathy was treating their cat like a child. The cat is an animal. A cat is a cat, not a child, okay, not a baby in that sense. So there was some issues there, and even if Kathy was joking about there, then Kathy should understand that I was just simply reading out their comment. That's all I was really doing, so that was it. I think they got triggered as well at a later point where I said Kathy comes across as a furry, somebody that dresses up as an animal, goes to the conventions, rub noses with one another, and even wags tails as well and gets on all fours. It was just a rough observation, that was all based off the tone of voice from them. But at the end of the day, people have said Kathy does have issues. If you go on Kathy's YouTube channel or account, there's something mentioned about bipolar, whether it be that they have bipolar or it's a reference to bipolar, some kind of issues with their personality and behaviour from time to time. Well, that could explain as to why they're quite erratic and why they change in tone and why they can get a bit sharp at times with their tone of language and use of language as well, right? So they spurt out a load of misinformation, complete rubbish and BS. Not a good look for them, and even people that do support her or are friends with her know she's a bit of a loose cannon and a bit all over the place. And that's their friends speaking on behalf of Kathy as well. So even if friends of Kathy think she's a bit wild, then just imagine what, just general public think as well. I'm only speaking, as said, on first-hand experience, okay? And it was negative from Kathy and Axel immediately from the get-go, kind of like salty pancakes. Defensiveness immediately, misunderstanding. And isn't it interesting how there is a link and an association to be made that whenever WarLike Wrath simply reads out the comment section of somebody else's video or channel page, people lose their shit. Salty Pancakes did. Bob Farrell initially did. Kathy and Axel did. What the hell is going on with all these people? There is absolutely nothing wrong with reading out comments of another channel or video. It does absolutely nothing. One isn't putting words in somebody else's mouth. One is simply reading what another person has said who may be a supporter of that channel. So why should it be a problem? You feel that your privacy has been invaded? Well, make it private. Gated community. Do something about it. You're going to keep it public? Well, it's public. People will see it. People will read it. Tough shit. Just like Facebook pages. You make it private? Okay. Then, outsiders wouldn't see it. And then it would be resolved. Very simple. But people don't take action. But still complain afterwards. Pathetic. Okay? It's pathetic. So, Kathy and Axel, not exactly high in credibility, nor in trustworthiness, nor when they do give their thoughts and analysis on stuff, probably not best in believing what they say because it is erratic and, I don't know, loose cannon, doesn't exactly pair well with a case where there needs to be a level of learning and understanding different points of views. Kathy and Axel is an impetuous, one-dimensional individual with ginger hair, right? That's just an observation and a characteristic, okay? Because their cat is ginger as well. Maybe the cat has more sense than Kathy. Maybe the cat needs to talk more than Kathy. Dale, you gonna do an interview with Axel, the cat? Yeah? No. Dale, you will do it. Be a good boy. Come on, Dale. Be a good boy. Yeah? That's fine. Because if you don't do it, Dale, Matt Lingo will put you on the list. Okay? So, the next response, a bit more of a direct one. Don't know if it was through poor language or wording, but I heard that it's just Robbie. Yeah, my name is just Robbie. Just got out the car with my laptop. Girl, you better listen to me. I'm knocking on my own door because I've locked myself out. That's what I do. 9 days out of the week, Robbie, walking on in, walking about, putting the laptop down, and talking on and on while I'm doing my daily chores routine. That's what I do. My quiff does not move because it's as plastic as my face. Yeah, full on natural. I almost appeared and auditioned in the latest Barbie girl film. Oh my god, should have been welcomed in, should have got the Oscar immediately. I'm gonna file a report later to YouTube because I'm in direct contact with them. You have not seen nothing yet. Robbie is out. Anyway, besides Robbie, what he said in one of Bob Farrell's streams or so, Robbie, you don't know who It's Just Robby is. Robbie with, I guess, blonde hair. Robbie with almost like the head or hair of an ice cream, where it like goes up like that to the tip. Not caused me any problems, not caused any trouble, and he has said positive things on my channel, so that's all good. But I don't know if he misworded it, but I just want to respond back, that's all. Robbie said in Bob Farrell's recent live stream that whilst acknowledging Bob Farrell for caring about the Dylan Rounds case and keeping it alive, Robbie said that besides grifters and unnatural people manipulating the case, there really isn't anybody else keeping the case alive. There isn't anybody else consistently covering it or talking about it. It's only Bob Farrell that's doing that job. Because the family members aren't doing it. The family members aren't creating channels on YouTube. Right? What about me? If you're talking about single-handedly keeping the case alive, Robbie, I am that example. I am the only one for that. if you're talking Robbie, feel free to listen. I don't know, Robbie, if you've got your ear pods in too deep into your ears, or have you got headphones on, or have you got the whole lot? Pull them out, turn up the volume. So the reality is, Robbie, I am the only person to have single-handedly uploaded over 400 and I guess 40 videos on the Dylan Rounds case. You combine all the other channels and all their videos together, it probably doesn't come close to what I have covered and presented. With my coverage almost occurring every single day from 2022 to 2023 and bordering into 2024 as well, almost every single day a video about Dylan Rounds, and almost every single one being an hour or two long. Okay? Creating a space and a community for people to talk and free speech as well. To learn about the case, to share their thoughts, and to gather material and knowledge with time. To single-handedly keep the case alive when many other people walked away because they could not stand with the stamina, they moved on to the next popular best thing, or they got too involved with drama and that was more important to them than a missing individual. I did not do that. If I did get involved in some way, it was in relation to the Dylan Rounds case or defending myself whilst it being a juggling act I managed. Okay? So this is all speaking factually because on my channel you can see it firsthand. You go to the playlist, I do have over 400 videos on the case. And even just for the length of time, whilst there's been critiques, people saying it's not enough, it doesn't solve the case, it hasn't done much. Well, it's kept the case alive and it's kept the discussions going and in the search terms as well on Google and YouTube, just like how Candice Cooley wanted, right? Candice Cooley is doing her own stuff. Justin Rounds is doing his boots on ground physical searches. They've all got the roles and the areas what they're good at doing, okay? And with what I've done in the Kenny Veach case, I applied here and it was somewhat successful, keeping it alive and making sure that the case didn't die out as soon as other cases did. Obviously, as people walk away, there's less talking about it, but I still managed. And there was still discussions and there was still people on this channel contributing with their own thoughts, ideas and findings. It was all good. So the next time It's Just Robby says that Bob Farrell is the only one to single-handedly keep the Dylan Rounds case alive, rethink that, okay? Just rethink that because there are others out there. It's not just Bob. There are other people out there. And there's only one to have done it almost every single day for over 2 years. Only one individual in this entire world, this entire planet, when it comes to the YouTube platform of covering this case. I'm the only one, okay? That's not being cocky, it's being realistic, right? I know what I know because I see the facts, I see the numbers in terms of amount of videos, in terms of the search results, in terms of the hashtags. It's mainly my videos that show up. Maybe not at the top because they're not the most popular. As we know, it's a popularity contest with others. But they are there. And they do gather with time and saturate it, but for the right reasons. So maybe Robbie made a mistake there, but I think it was a little bit impetuous and one-dimensional. Hopefully he sees this. Okay? Now, moving on to the next pattern of avoidance and reducing problems and avoiding them before they even occurred. The Jim Terry investment scheme. What the hell is that all about? Where Jim Terry sees you as a prospect, the next upcoming talent. Let's sign you. Not literally. Let's make you a star. Let's help you grow. I've got my resources. I've got my contacts. I've got my people. I'll invest in you and give you what you want so you can grow on one condition, that you don't allow basically everyone else on this channel, only us and the odd special guest, that you have to attend all our interviews and live premieres or live streams and panels, and that you have to keep on a day-to-day schedule, routine with emails, newsletters, and advertising us and letting other people know when we're going live and where, and that you do the same as well to let us know that when you're going live too. It's a two-way agreement. Are you going to stick with it? If so, you're signed, you're hired, we're going to make you a star. Up until there's a disagreement, up until someone decides to start doing their own live streams at different times when someone like Jim Terry wouldn't be aware of, and it's seen as, what's going on here? Is there a mutiny? Inviting people on to the guest show, the panels, when they're on the blacklist. How could you do that to me? Why are you doing that? Right? Or doing a live stream at the same time as when Jim Terry does, going head to head. You shouldn't be doing that. You can't be doing it when I'm doing it. No, no, no. You should be here, not doing your thing. When we give you an order, when we bark, you come. Not quite like that, Sinaloa. No. But you get what I'm saying. Once you sign it over, once you make that almost like agreement, even though it's not exactly legal, there's no like actual contracts involved, unlike Betty Hayward and the Corn Star agreement, completely different. But, you know, are you signing your life over? Not quite, but you are becoming a slave, and, you know, you start being controlled and then you dig yourself into a hole. How do you get out of it? Some people struggled and it took time and people were burnt in the process. Okay, and we've seen it with numerous people. I'm sure there's many people you can think of as examples who have been under Jim Terry's spell, grew as a channel, did receive a boost, did receive subscribers, did receive viewers, did receive super chats, did become monetized because of the presence of Jim Terry. And as soon as they felt they were too big for the boots, or they just had enough of Jim Terry, or there was a disagreement, they got hurt and wanted to part ways because they felt trapped. When they did, and Jim Terry pulled out, so did others. And they suffered because of that. And yes, with time, people recuperated, regrouped, and became stronger and better. Not quite, because it's from different communities and it was fragmented, and still to this day there are arguments and things escalating, so it didn't exactly work out. And whilst everyone's gathered into one place like a stronghold fortress, with Jim Terry being the invader now, or the one on the outside, making calls, ringing in to cause disruption within, to get that volcano going and bubbling and eventually erupting all over the place, right? That can happen. That has happened. All because it stemmed from letting Jim Terry onto your show, right? As soon as it grabs on, it does not let go. Kind of like a pit bull. As soon as it locks its jaws on you, it will not unlock until the life has been drained out of you, in a sense. Okay? Now, we're not going to get into a dogged nature of little dog lovers. Let's get old doggy. Let's talk about little dog treats and little paws. Yeah, that stupid dog owners. Get a grip. Be realistic. Jesus! Okay? Not everyone, but some people are a little bit delusional when it comes to pets, and when it comes to critiques or valid observations made, they speak on behalf of their pets and get offended. Oh, I'm sorry. Other people are allowed to have an opinion and different observations. I've seen some. Whip the bullshit away. Whip the pricks. Whip the pricks. There we go. Hands are quite red, but not as raw as I don't know where that was going. Anyway, with the Jim Terry investment scheme. Not a scheme as a scam, but a scheme as a method, right? Successful or not, wanting to then help others, but it more so helps themselves, or it makes them feel good, or it makes them look better and they gain favour with time. Those that are being helped feel like it's going in the right direction, but eventually it inevitably goes wrong at some point and they get hurt. At the time of when Jim Terry tried penetrating his way onto this channel or panel, whilst he might be into penetrating or the usage of photos of items that could penetrate, that did not happen here, did it? No. I don't do live streams literally, and when I have done, it's just by myself. I don't do live call-ins or panels like that, because that has its own problems of people over-talking one another, arguments, more drama escalating, and talk causes more problems than it's worth. If a singular person is present and talking and only one person is talking, there's less of a risk of a back chat and trouble brewing, okay? One person can cause problems, but multiple people can cause multiple problems, and it can escalate further, but it can't here because it just doesn't happen. It can't happen. So Jim Terry threw a wobbler, tantrum, toys out the pram, wasn't too happy that he couldn't come onto my show, couldn't do live streams, couldn't do interviews, and then resorted to, well then, you come here then. But I didn't, because I'm doing my own thing. The case, mysteries, coverage, content creator, busy. Simple as. Busy. That's more important than other stuff. So that's what happened there. So because there was just no leeway, there was no leniency, there was no getting my own way, backed off. Then resorted to other people. Okay? So I eliminated almost a lifetime of problems just by ignoring it, by rejecting the offer. Okay? Wasn't exactly an offer, not quite to that extent, but it would have led into that. Okay? Now, if I was a smaller channel, okay, if I was a nobody, would I have been more likely to say, okay, Jim Tay, come onto my channel, grow me, make me bigger? Not quite like that. No, I wouldn't, because I still wouldn't, because I just don't do that. I keep to myself, that's it. So, as to one's personality and behaviour, how I stick with that, it just wouldn't correlate with making that offer, that deal with Jim Toe. So that's why it didn't happen, and things moved on, and other people fell for it and accepted it and then got trapped. I avoided it, so I didn't get trapped. Does that make sense? So yes, a lot of problems eliminated there, and at the time of when I was cautious, thinking, do I want that person on my channel? Could it lead to people dragging me down? I know that because in the past people have dragged me down. Other presences of humans have dragged me down into pits of hell, into failure, into downfall. This will not happen, okay? Just like with delusional positivity. Don't listen to it. It'll drag you down, make you worse off, make you more vulnerable. Fuck that shit, okay? So, yeah. With those patterns, then I noticed that when other channels get approached by Jim Terry, and if they accept, it will go the same way, sinking ship eventually. And that's what happened. So I predicted it and predicted it with time. Now, moving on to the next point is to do with the filtering, the cleansing of humans. Now, of course, there's different ways about it. You can cleanse with this, although it's seen better time of day. This can be used to separate all kinds of stuff, separate the cobwebs, separate the dust, separate the blessings, I don't know, do something, just clap and slap, there we go. And then other ways too, just block somebody, but it doesn't always have to be directly me doing it, but it can be viewers. And it was like not an order, but a suggestion I actually initiated. Basically said that if it comes to drama, if it comes to falling outs, if it comes to full-on conversations and arguments breaking out in the chat here, which that's not really ever happened, or let's just say it's not happened for a very long time, well, that's because there'll be some people in the chat, in this community here, that may have blocked many people, and maybe other regular viewers. Who knows? But if it works for them, it works for them. It doesn't cause any harm, does it? If I blocked people, if I blocked lots of people, then no one would be able to see one another. So it'd be pointless then, wouldn't it? I might not have a problem with somebody in my chat, but somebody else in my chat may have a problem with them. And it's not happened, but the odd outsider who feels entitled has come in and said, right, there's a person here I don't like. You block them. Get fucked. I'm not doing that. I've got no problems with that person. If you got problems with them, follow it up right now. Do something. And if not, just block them. So then you can enjoy the video, keep on talking with the people you get on well with, and the original problem is eliminated one way or another. So, just to reiterate it once again, anybody watching right now or in the future, you find yourself in a bit of discomfort, or you're in trouble with somebody, or you find someone problematic here as well, just block them. Not going to cause any harm, not going to cause any damage. You block them, you get rid of the problem, but you can still stay and enjoy the stuff you do like. And then I can still oversee it all myself. which then can be a witness to any back chat or talking behind one's back, because they know that the other person can't see because they're blocked, so they can say what they like, but I can see it all. Oh, naughty, naughty, isn't that right? Sinaloa. Hands off that blanket. Okay, you want it because it's roja? Roja? Yeah, yeah. Fetch, come and get it. No. It was Bella V. I was the originator of the red robe. Suggested that Belle V stole it, in case anyone's wondering, because there's a time where Belle V had a red robe on in her live streams back then, and I thought, oh, that looks very similar to mine. Did you steal it? And that's where the storyline came from. As for the whole thing about Stony marrying WarLike Wrath, I have no clue where that came from. I have no clue what the fuck was going on, to be honest. Caught in a rock and a hard place there. I was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. But this stone was cracked. Yeah, cracked all over, man. Powder leaking out the backhand in the gutter. Not good. But jokes aside, that's to do with the cleansing. You cleanse directly, or other people can do it on behalf of themselves. It eliminates the problem. And when you eliminate the problem earlier on, as said, it leads to less conflict in the actual chat room and the chat box, right? So then it means less arguments for the future and less trouble for the future. If there'll be other channels, communities out there where they may let somebody on or keep somebody on, and they're a bit too lenient, and I don't know, causes some problems there. But then again, those problems can be exaggerated and intensified when they've actually got them on panel and not just in chat. I don't have that problem because I don't do that method, so that eliminates yet another issue there. The highlight and more balanced approach, right? That's something that's come with time, because I would say that compared to Kenny Veach's case and the Dylan Rounds case, I've demonstrated extremely more balance in Dylan Rounds than with Kenny Veach. But that's just because of what's happened with time and also what's happened in real life as well. Adaptation and changes have been made, so things are followed as well. So with time and better balance and better understanding, you can actually look back, you can return back onto past points, examples, or people, and then a new understanding is formed, and then people from the past, some can apologize and some can change their ways, and it has happened here on and off. Okay, so that would be a key one. The whole point with patterns and trends, tying in back with the once you learn about behavior and people, you can pick up on it before it actually happens, or before it happens again in the future, so adaptation. The usage of keywords and lines to basically highlight it, but in code, use it in code. Outsiders won't understand, but people on the inside will. So if you notice a problem, you notice trouble, you sense something, you just use a certain line, a word, melons, pineapple, banana, or something a bit more formal. Not a safe word, no handcuffs, but you just use a certain line or a quote, and those will know and know what to expect and how to act. So what you do there, you eliminate problems, but you also prevent the outsiders from knowing or learning that you know. So that's very important there, and that's prevented problems. Other people don't do this type of stuff, so I mean, well, actually, let's just argue and say the only thing that has been done at times, more so recently, is when other channels out there have referred to Jim Terry or Mr. X, they've called him Tim Jerry or Jerry Tim, and instead of Mr. X, Mr. XYZ, I don't know, something like that, where you're not using the original name of the person. Just like how people have used different material from Jim Terry, Mr. X, they've been copyright struck, copyright claims, they've been punished for that, as you know, with trouble going on in the background. And some people have adapted since by just using audio only of Mr. X and Jim Terry, but also changing the pitch and tone to kind of reduce that copyright claim, and maybe adding in a bit of commentary as well for fair use, something like that to get around the guidelines. So if you kind of obscure it, yeah, that can help. It makes it harder to read and harder for people to reach or access. I get that. But as for the usage of terms or words in anticipation for swear, others don't do that, but I do, okay? Now, as I said earlier, avoiding live panels or streams. So if I'm not engaging as much elsewhere, well, that's partially because I'm busy myself, doing my own thing, growing my own channel, and locked on most of the days, okay? It is what it is, and it does help me, so that's why I do it. So if I did expose myself to more live panels out there, then it would come across more of me being a supporter or pledging allegiance to other people, which would be read that way from the likes of Jim Terry, Mr. X, etc., or Salty Pancakes. Because when people supposedly follow in the same direction in behaviour, actions, or trends, or talking about topics, it's instantly associated or assumed that you're all following in that direction because you're all in bed with one another, not literally. Misconception there. It's like with the Alex Easterling case, decided to cover it because it felt like the right time and the right place, and there was nothing else that needed to be done elsewhere, so I did it. Kaylee was covering it too, and then Salty Pancakes assumed that I was, you know, like following in line and a chain of command with Kaylee. No, it was all natural and individually done. Simple as. Like when it comes to people being tagged in videos and stuff, people assuming that everybody that's tagged there is in on it. Kind of like when Gorilla Jack made a response video with the drama at the time and people being exposed for stuff going on. Gorilla Jack tagged a range of people, maybe Kaylee, maybe Weedleby, maybe Girl Ryan, maybe American Honey, maybe Salty Pancakes. It was a range of different people, right? And even tagged me, and I had no clue what was going on, and I wasn't really involved either. But then when Jim Terry saw that video and looked at the video description and saw all those tagged people, the assumption was, well, they're all in on it because they've all been tagged and they must know one another and communicate with one another. But I don't really, do I? So you can get lumped in with others, and then it's assumed that you're following in that direction. So by me avoiding and just reducing my activity elsewhere and focusing on my own thing, yes, there is better growth and there is better focus and focus on a case and movement forwards, but I'm avoiding all the other trouble. I'm avoiding the firing line because I don't directly associate myself or pledge allegiance to other groups or communities out there, okay? I'm avoiding more trouble. I'm avoiding the problems. Do you like how where if you do suddenly make it very official and very clear and very public that you're on side with somebody else, and then suddenly you then start getting attacked just because the person you're around is a target, so then anyone that surrounds themselves with that target, they become a target themselves. It might be unfair, it might be unnatural, it might be unnecessary, but it happens. Now, if I avoid that, then I'm not going to be a part of it, so I won't get attacked the same way. So that's reducing it there. And as well, by me not doing live panels or live call-ins, obviously I'm reducing and eliminating the possibilities of somebody coming onto the show, posing as somebody else, and then flashing a massive cucumber on screen, or putting their drill to good use and, you know, really using it. I don't know, does that happen? Who knows? It could happen in the future. Predictions, you never know. But, you know, whether it be people bouncing watermelons on the ground, or it be people just, I don't know, whipping around cucumbers, or even if it's just a static image, right? That can be against YouTube TOS, and then it leads to people's channels maybe getting reported, getting in trouble with YouTube, even though the creator didn't cause it or wasn't exactly aware of it nor anticipating it. Somebody's come on to drag your channel down and you suffer at the hands of it. So is it really worth it? And people can be very deceiving and pretend to be someone, and you think it's really them. You invite them on and then suddenly, oh, it's somebody else, and you're worse off. Just like how you can have a Discord group, just like with the Dylan Rounds community. You can have a Discord group in the background, you can chat, you can hang out. Somebody comes on in, pretending to be someone, forms or befriends people, learns, and then leaves like a spy, a messenger, and exposes it and reveals it to others with screenshots. So that private messenger group might be encrypted, or it might have some kind of protocol of who you can invite and who you can't and who you can trust, and yet people can still deceive others and still get screwed at the hands of it. I don't participate in any of that, so I'm avoiding those problems, right? As I said, I'm not saying that people has to avoid this and avoid that. You know, if you want to do it, you can. Okay, you shouldn't have to be controlled. I choose not to do it because I don't really feel comfortable doing it, right? And other reasons. And it just so happens that ties in line with that nature of me. Okay, whether it me keeping to myself, whether it me being shy, whether it me just because of communication, whatever. Because I reduce it indirectly, there are positives to take from it. Reducing drama, reducing trouble. So why not make positives out of negatives, or make positives out of limitations? No harm there. Now, the next thing would be careful with contacts. That's a key thing in a case or in a community. You can build a network, you can make friends, or you can just come across people in general and you can pass information on and communicate in the background. But just be careful of what you say and what you share, because you open up too much with the wrong person, and you have a falling out in the future, then they can probably expose you and reveal text messages. It's like I was too cautious and I was too alert and aware, but at a time it wasn't a serious situation, which is kind of good, but you know, it could go wrong. So like when it came to Stony has been known to show receipts of text messages of other people, Bell V, and it has been vice versa and with others. Okay, it's a messy situation to be in. If you're around those type of people, just be careful of what you say to them or the conversations you have or what you share with them, because you ever fall out with a person like that and they're prone to sharing those private messages publicly, you could be compromised and it could be a bit of a messy situation. It could be hurtful, it could be damaging, it could lead to trust issues or worse, right? It's kind of like how people publicly on live streams have opened up about their past or childhood or being kidnapped or inappropriately touched, or I don't know, stuff to do with children, whatever, right? Sensitive topics, sensitive subjects. Is it the right place to be talking about it? I mean, if you feel comfortable, then I guess that's a positive that you can open up. But when it's public, other people can hear, can see, can document and take advantage of it. They can take your weaknesses and turn it into ammunition against you and benefit. Okay? So just be aware. That can also happen in the background with private conversations. So obviously, the more people you're in contact with, the harder it is to keep up with one another. And if you treat too many people the same way and open up too much the same way with everyone, at some point or another, the chances of somebody exposing you or revealing that stuff to the general public will increase. So be cautious with who you're around, and depending on how many people are around. If you have a tight-knit, small group of people, then that's probably okay and you got it under control. If you want to treat it like a hierarchy where you tell some people more than others, just like how you would treat a best friend different to a basic bitch friend, not quite a basic bitch, but just a basic friend, or different to a colleague, it's going to differ, okay? I mean, if Dale is best friends with a snail, he might touch it differently to how he would touch a dog, okay? There's probably many other examples there, but, you know, it'll make sense with the examples of Dale. Dale has it under control, just not the slime. But yeah, so there's that. The next thing, avoiding calls. The whole concept of sharing phone numbers, which can derive from a channel page, just like how people have their emails on their channel, where people can find the emails and then reach out directly like that out of nowhere, and then you can get harassed, spammed, and you can get attacked. Sometimes it's best just keeping your emails private, and then if someone wants to reach out to you, leave a comment, response, hey, here it is. Let me know once you've got the email, I'll delete the comment, and then you reduce people reaching out to you like that. And once you've deleted the comment, people can't see it again. I know people can get screenshots in between, but if you're quick enough, you can eliminate and reduce the problem. But when it comes to phone calls, it seems to be the most central part of the Dylan rounds, or just even the true crime community. Let's have a panel, let's have a call in, let's have everybody just jumping on in and hanging out and talking. Why is that happening all of a sudden, right? I don't know if it's a trend, I don't know if it's always been around, but it's happened. And because of that, and even like you got like PayPal, or you got under your name or profile picture of your phone number or something, or you dish it out, give it out, whether people expose it or not afterwards, because it's out there in the public, people can get a hold of you more easier, and the wrong people can as well. And then it can lead to being called unexpectedly and when you don't want it, like Betty Hayward with the 500 emails and the 500 calls and the 999 text messages per day, per second. Do you want to be in that situation? Probably not. So avoiding calls or not putting your phone number out there is probably a good thing to do. It just reduces problems. But also the fact is, when it comes to phone calls, people has been known to record those phone calls and say, we're not recording it, no, we're just listening in, we're talking, and then upload it onto a channel or a page or a platform later. So there's deceiving, backstabbing, deceit. Not good, is it? Trust issues once again, through emails, through text messages, through calls, all private and then exposed without your consent and without your knowledge. You find out when it's too late. Not a good situation to be in. I don't allow really any of that, so I avoid that problem once again. That's just another factor. The other one, expectations to a minimum. Don't expect too much. If you expect too much, I know it can be underwhelming and disappointing, and that can apply to really anything, not just here, not just drama, but also just in life. Next thing, light-hearted is key. So obviously during the times where there is darkness or where there is problems or where there could be incoming issues, try and dampen it, okay? There's a fire, get the fire blanket out. If not that, just grab Sinaloa taco and throw it onto the fire, and I'm sure it'll put it out, because Sinaloa, her fruit salad, the juices are running, it's ripe. That's not available. I'm sure Nance and her narrow igloo with the melons inside, watermelons, there's enough of them, so that the juice from that, you crush the melons in between your legs or the coconuts, whatever that's available, the juice will put out the fire, okay? Fruit salad, food, eating, healthy eating, let's be innocent here, okay? This is a Christian channel. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. Better not trigger, just observing. No. Anyway, that's an example. Light-hearted. You could say it's deflecting, but deflecting oncoming missiles, no harm in that, right? You can respond back to criticism and darkness and conflicts in a serious way when you've got to address serious problems, and so people take you seriously in the first place. But when it comes to ridiculous stuff like Kathy and Axel with the ginger cat doxing, or when it comes to Buster Bretimus with his whiny voice, or Jim Terry 2, or Mr. X, or Salty Pancakes sound like he's got a cold 24/7, and also calling people traffickers, stuff like that, you can respond back seriously, but then, you know, because other people in the community don't take it seriously, you can put a light-hearted spin on it. It gets rid of some of the negativity, right? That's why examples like Matt Lingo and Dale, whilst their chat doesn't match or line up with the discussions of the video, if the video or an ongoing situation is bad or negative and Matt Lingo and Dale are there, their random behaviour, joking about, might actually put a smile on some people's faces when it's needed. So it can work at times indirectly, not exactly planned, and that's what makes it natural. And when it's natural, it's more effective, right? The next one, the whole no competition, right? You start treating it as a competition, that's where some kind of toxicity comes on in. I said, predicted it from the start. Evolutionary competitiveness, the different channels, trying to outdo one another. Now, yes, I said that I'd be the last person standing and that I've made so many videos. Is that some form of competition? No. It was an initial thought and concept that I'll be the last person standing, not because it's a competition. I don't even treat it as a competition to begin with, because I know I don't compare to others like that, okay? It's not a competition of super chats. It's not a competition of views, and definitely it's not a competition of live viewers, because you take in mind the time zone difference. Not everybody watches at the same time. It's like when Salty Pancakes said there was only 16 people or 12 people watching my channel at the time. Okay then, but how many watched a day or two later? Over 600 plus, right? So time zone difference plays a massive role and factor, and so does the whole subscriber to viewer count ratio. It all differs. But people like to make it a competition and compare, just like Jim Tay with his numbers or stats with other channels, and how Bob Farrell does in response, or Twin Mama does in response. It's a never-ending cycle of let's compare and let's compete. You're just fueling it on and on again. And I know some people could say, well, what about your stats, WarLike Wrath? Yeah, but when I do my post about my stats or channel growth or milestones reached, it's not me saying, oh, look, I've got 10,000 more subscribers than you, or I've actually got thousands of people watching unlike you, or I've got more people liking my videos than what that person had, because last night they only had 60 and I had 200. No, because most of the captions and descriptions of my post are thank you for watching or thanks for helping me get to this milestone. I'm talking in general. The actual language of the captions aren't I'm better than you, it's thanks for helping me get to this point. There's a difference, isn't there? That's not competing, that's just acknowledging the presence of people and what it's led to. Okay? When you do start competing, it can become a bit unhealthy and it can become a bit negative. And that can apply to video games as well. Sometimes just try and take it a bit more casually or a bit more laid back. Maybe it's not always possible. Obviously, if you're in a competition or in a sport, Olympics, football, anything like that, professional or semi-professional, yeah, you probably take it serious and treat it as a competition because you want to be the best. But when it comes to a case or a community like this, solving a case, it shouldn't be about who's the best one at solving it. Surely people could work together or work alongside one another whilst trying to solve the bigger picture of who's responsible or where the person's gone. That's thrown out the window here because it's more about, oh, who's got the most live viewers in this live stream? Who's got the most super chats? Who's got the most back-to-back super chats? Who's got the biggest super chat train? Who's got the most cash apps? Who's got the most PayPal donations or whatever? See, the mentality is warped when it comes to YouTubers nowadays, or maybe some from certain communities. Maybe the true crime community in a rough nutshell would be, oh, I'm going to set up a channel. And even before I think of content or creating meaningful material, already I am entitled and I demand to be monetized. I demand cash apps. I demand PayPal. I demand go fuck me. No, I mean GoFundMe. I demand comments. I demand likes. I demand to be monetized. First, put in the work, put in the effort, and don't do it directly or initially for the monetary part. Do it for fun. Do it because you want to. Do it because of the case or a topic, what you're talking about. You focus too much on the money side, you lose track of everything. And, you know, as for the whole growth aspect, you do it with time, right? You can't just expect it immediately. But when it comes to quite a few true crime channels out there, the first thought on their mind is, when can they enable channel membership? When can they enable super chats? See, the differences between me and most of these people are, when I was doing it back in 2013, channel membership never existed. Super chats never existed. All those incentives weren't around. I just simply made videos because I wanted to. And when I made the case videos, the mystery ones, I did it because it was a form of acknowledgement that there was more people watching. So just naturally, it was like, oh, well, I must be doing the right thing. There's acknowledgement. So, and it just happened to tie in with something I was very interested in. So I just did it. And I have done it ever since, and it's expanded since. And then what's come secondary would be like super chats or people showing support. It should be acknowledged and appreciated, the support, but to start a channel up and to be expecting to receive all super chats and PayPals and all that immediately, no, that takes time and you can't expect it immediately. But I think the true crime community, there's a lot of entitled individuals with a warped entitlement when it comes to being a creator on YouTube, and it's pathetic. I don't really agree with YouTube either pandering to some of those people by reducing the limits, the milestones, making it easier for people to get on the ladder in a sense. But, you know, there should be a reasonable amount of effort put in to get to a milestone, just like how it was for everybody else in the past. Why should it change now? Just to cater for people. So, yeah, there's that there. That's kind of off topic, but just wanted to highlight that. So overall, the whole competition aspect in a case or community, that leads to people competing with one another. And sometimes competition, some can say it's friendly, other times it's toxic, and it has been toxic here. You've seen it with the stats and the numbers of people outdoing one another and critiquing one another. Just leads to further arguments and things escalating on top of everything else. It's not needed, it's not necessary, but it happens. But it won't happen here because I'm not competing with anybody, because I don't want to, and I don't see the point, right? Because I know in the back of my mind there'll be other channels out there doing better on other stuff. I'm aware that there's other channels out there that are degenerates, lazy bastards, just copying material and reacting to it, react channels, and people that just sit down their arse and just play games, full-on live streams, and not put as much effort in because they're not editing in that sense only. As for the people that do put lots of effort in and edit, obviously that should be acknowledged. But like with the other people that can multitask multiple things, they could have a business here and a business there, and then a YouTube channel here and a YouTube channel there, and they're able to do it all at once. That's annoying to see how they can do all of that and manage. But then again, you got to also be realistic and dial it back to say you're a one-man army, and there's other channels out there that will have a workforce in a sense of managing the channel, managing social media accounts, and creating channel art and thumbnails, and then the person narrating it, and then the person creating the script. Multiple people at hand can have a business within itself. Here, it's all by me. And of course, with people's suggestions and people reaching out with their intel and stuff and contributions there to be acknowledged, right? But as for the video making aspects, one-man army. So once you've understood that, you try and distance yourself from others, then there's no competition and it's not as much of a problem and it doesn't feel as bad. That's why when it comes to the Kenny Veach case, I try to distance myself there from outsiders and outsider channels, because it really does annoy and frustrate me knowing that after all those years of putting in the effort and the research, it just gets completely neglected and ignored by all these people coming on in. It's annoying. I've tried explaining, I've tried spreading awareness and telling other channels, but not everyone looks, and it just happens over and over again. So there's only so much I can do physically. So I'm best just keeping my head down and sticking with creating the videos, and if people watch, good, and if they don't, hopefully in the future they will. Now, finally, the point of don't give in to pressure, that can tie in with the gym toe scheme. Don't give in to it, because then you become a slave. But also don't give in to pressure if people in the back chat, in the background, reach out to you and suddenly act as your agency, your manager, your PR, or whatever. It's like you're the established one, they come on in and almost take over. And other people have let that happen and listened into the ears of people and then took unnatural action or made unnatural changes. I didn't. I've tried resisting against it and resisting against other forms of brainwashing. So that's why it's led to less problems here. So the psychological approach of this all when it comes to the self-reflection of WarLike Wrath is through experience in the past and the sheer amount of hypocrites I've come across in real life and online back then. I know one when I see one. And when it comes to changes in behaviour in people and analysing and documenting it, I've seen it back then, so I know when it happens now, right? Lots of early warning signs, lots of red flags just because of my past experience. Obviously, harder for other people that have only been around in a shorter period trying to do the same thing. I get that. But still, by avoiding this or avoiding that or just using the correct wording, that can just simply limit problems by itself, right? So yeah, a lot of problems avoided, a lot of drama avoided, and some of it just simply the fire has been put out quicker than what others have done where it's escalated, okay? So in a way, holistically, psychologically, I have done a psychological analysis in which I have demonstrated introspection, how my thoughts are and how I calculate things throughout back then and right now, okay? Is there any weaknesses? You could say the weaknesses are no live panels, no full-on live interaction to that extent, whether it be one's restrictions in confidence or being shy or just simply being too stubborn, because I can be stubborn at times, or I do things in my own order or pace which may infuriate other people. So the criticisms or the weaknesses of WarLike Wrath is he may limit himself at times which could mean missing out on some things. But there are still positives to avoiding things because it avoids problems. So there's strengths and weaknesses to both. WarLike Wrath can be stubborn at times, so that leads to a certain response or not the desired response or the timing of when it should be delivered. I've got a certain pace which may not match other people's. Can be a weakness in a sense where it's hard to keep up with in certain areas. And then when it comes to the order of doing things or researching, it's not to the levels of what other people would think. So that's a weakness there. The other weakness or point to highlight is throughout, was it 2022? Midway 2022, going into 2023 for some time, WarLike Wrath being more strict than usual and maybe a bit sharper in tone. That's because one had to adapt in real life because of the odd illness elsewhere internally, but not physically. So with having to become a psychologist almost on the spot and completely change in behavior in a sense and wording things. Like I said, treating someone like a patient, that's what I had to do literally. So then that might have leaked over to the YouTube aspect in how I addressed or responded back to people. So where it may have seemed like I was talking to someone like a robot, or I was talking or responding back to someone in a bit more of a overkill way. It's partially because I adapted in general with in real life stuff. That is why most recently, when I did the video which incorporated Matt Lingo and Dale, it was more of a positive angle and more understanding towards Matt Lingo and Dale, whereas in the past may have been a bit more sharper. Because since almost like a decontamination process of easing off, almost like being a psychopath, easing off being some kind of doctor, right? And with all the balance over time somehow, there can be a lighter outlook on humans now than back then. So I'd say that's a reasonable amount of weaknesses listed in the name of WarLike Wrath aimed at myself. Of course, if you've got any weaknesses or grievances to highlight about me, you can list that down below in the comment section. That's just so there's balance before other people think it's biased, this video, as you know. But yeah, I think we'll leave it there for now. Just wanted to do this video because it basically sums up everything from the very beginning up to now. Hopefully people are able to follow along, and you can use this video as a reference point. Maybe use certain examples as a form of adaptation in the future. As I said, with what's currently going on in the background and elsewhere, probably will continue for some time, for as long as people are alive. So thanks for watching. See you next time, and it'll probably be about Kenny Veach and the mystery. Okay? So good night for now.